Good morning. It is such a privilege to join you today. I had planned to be physically present this morning, but unfortunately, severe weather and resulting flight delays in the U.S. had other plans for me. Nevertheless, I'd like to thank our Singaporean hosts for putting together an incredible program. Singapore and Asia more broadly has never been more important as a driving force for delivering the technologies, policies, and financing solutions that we need to decarbonize the global economy. As the Ecosperity agenda recognizes, we are now halfway through this decisive decade for the future of our climate. And what happens here in Asia will determine whether we succeed or fail in meeting our goals. Supporting the economic development and transition ambitions in Asia is a key priority for the Glasgow Financial Alliance for Net Zero, or GFANZ, as well as the Global Capacity Building Coalition and the Net Zero Data Public Utility, initiatives that I have the honor of running under the leadership of Mike Bloomberg. At the outset of this decade, governments across the world set climate targets and are continuing to raise their ambition with updated NDCs ahead of COP30. Singapore has been at the vanguard. In setting out its second NDC in February, it gave a clear vision for investing in clean energy, decarbonization technologies, and cross-border collaboration. I knew through my work with GFANZ that the private sector welcomes government efforts to set out ambitious and clear plans that integrate the energy transition into a broader economic strategy. Doing so allows governments to seize the opportunities of the transition and enables the private sector to be more effective partners in driving subsequent investment, economic growth, good jobs, and energy security. Indeed, with clear, coherent government policy, the private sector is better able to develop its own transition plans to turn climate necessity into commercial opportunity. We have already seen much progress in this regard, with hundreds of financial institutions globally developing transition plans aligned to the framework recommendation that GFANZ delivered several years ago. Clean energy technologies have advanced to the point where, for many countries in the region, tackling energy access, security, affordability, and climate impact at the same time is not only possible, but an economic imperative. Once installed, renewable energy is a reliable source of homegrown power. No one has a monopoly over the sun or the wind. It represents the cheapest source of power in countries accounting for 2/3 of power generation in almost all of Asia. The clean energy transition is already boosting economic prosperity with well-paid, secure jobs. More than 36 million people today work in clean energy. In 2023, investment in clean energy accounted for 1/3 of economic growth in the EU and over 1/4 of growth in China. And clean energy underpins economic opportunity in sectors including metals, chemicals, and building materials, helping to meet the demand for low-emission products across global value chains. Despite these very volatile times, I believe that a virtuous circle of strategic planning by governments, real economy corporates, and financial institutions has begun, turbocharging our goals of economic growth and climate impact. Given this context, GFANZ is doubling down on our focus to mobilize capital to emerging markets and developing economies, and we're doing this in several ways. First, we're helping make progress on country platforms. We're proud to support platforms in Indonesia and Vietnam through their respective just energy transition partnerships, and Brazil through the Brazil Climate and Ecological Transformation Investment Platform. Transition takes time, but these country platforms are making significant progress. For example, Vietnam recently updated its energy transition plan, which includes a promising pipeline of renewable energy and grid projects. In Brazil, we see a burgeoning pipeline of clean industrial products. And in Indonesia, we're seeing a growing number of public-private transactions reaching financial close. Indeed, last week, GFANS was proud to support the announcement of the financing of a floating solar facility that will increase electricity production from solar by 13% in Indonesia. Second, we're partnering with multilateral development banks and development finance institutions to help develop practical, scalable financing solutions. Our support to the World Bank's Private Sector Investment Lab helped improve and expand relevant World Bank guarantee and insurance products. This work has also provided a template for work with other NDBs to mobilize private finance toward poverty reduction and clean energy development. Third, our partnership with the Industrial Transition Accelerator is helping to fast-track investment in decarbonization solutions across heavy-emitting industries and sectors like cement and steel. Finally, we are working with partners, including in this region and with considerable leadership from Singapore, to support the development of coal-to-clean financing solutions and the development of locally anchored, globally connected, high-integrity carbon markets. The financial system is, at its core, a system for making decisions on how to manage risk and assess opportunity, and ultimately how to allocate capital. Strengthening the capacity of the financial sector is key to improving the effectiveness of that decision-making process. GFANS is facilitating capacity building by enabling financial institutions to share learnings from their practical experience with each other and with the wider climate finance ecosystem. GFANS networks for Asia Pacific, Africa, Latin America, and the Caribbean ensure that our work is embedded in local contexts and tailored to regional needs. In the last year alone, our APAC network reached over 140 financial institutions and 1,600 people through convenings, technical workshops, and dozens of local language training programs. From our engagement with financial institutions across emerging markets and developing economies, we know there are impactful capacity-building initiatives that demonstrate high returns on investment. We also know that capacity-building efforts can be further enhanced to ensure that we are collectively identifying best practices, scaling them, and replicating them. To support the capacity-building efforts in the financial system, we launched the Global Capacity Building Coalition, or GCBC, at COP28 in 2023. Together with the UN, the IMF, the World Bank, and other leading public and private sector organizations. Today, I'm excited to launch the GCBC Accelerator, a new initiative to identify, support, and scale impactful capacity-building programs across the world. Initiatives can apply to the Accelerator for bespoke support from the GCBC, from facilitating partnerships with influential organizations around the world to helping deliver capacity building at key climate finance events like COP, London Climate Action Week, or indeed Ecosperity. The winners will be unveiled during New York Climate Week in September. Our work to mobilize more private finance for the transition is complex, but so urgent. What gives me hope is that we continue to make progress. What once felt impossible is becoming inevitable because the solutions are simply better, cheaper, and more resilient than the status quo. Together, we can help the financial system do what it does best, manage the risks and foster the opportunities of the future. As we look to the rest of this decade, let's take inspiration from Singapore and from Asia more broadly. Let's take a long-term view, put our heads down, and do the hard work so that future generations can live in safety and prosperity. Thank you, and I look forward to working with all of you.